How's it going, everyone? In this video, I'm going to be doing a book review of Sapiens by Yuval Harari. Sapiens is best for those who have a general curiosity about the history of humanity, as well as those who are okay with a little bit of opinion and nuance and are able to kind of parse out opinion from historical fact. Sapiens is also good for those who like interacting with new and sort of unique ideas from a bunch of different perspectives. Difficulty to digest. So Sapiens is fairly easy to read, and Harari does a really good job of basically breaking down different concepts and showing examples and whatnot. But it's a fairly long book, so you're likely to get a lot from one read, but you may want to read through more than once to digest all the different ideas and see all the different perspectives and whatnot. So, on to key insights. One thing that I want to get out of the way up front is that this book covers a ton of stuff, and How to Happy is based primarily on happiness. So, I'm going to cover it mostly from the angle of happiness and how it could potentially contribute to that, which means there's going to be quite a bit of stuff that's left out or at least not covered in depth, and there is a lot going on in this book, so I just wanted to get that out up front. So Sapiens is essentially Harari's explanation of the development of humans or sapiens over the course of time, and there is a number of different topics covered, and broadly it covers, three large blocks, maybe four. So these larger blocks are cognition, agriculture, unification, and science. And within each of these blocks, a huge number of different ideas are discussed. While some of what's being said is commentary, a lot of it has some historical basis. So you need to be able to kind of parse through it on your own, because a lot of it's talked about quite authoritatively, while there's some nuance mixed in. Now, one of the main driving things that gets repeated throughout the book is this idea of shared fictions, and that being something that pulls us apart from other species. And shared fictions are essentially things like money or religion, basically these belief systems that we can all have together that drive a lot of our behavior and development over time. Another major theme or part of this book is transitions, right? So Harari goes into detail on a number of different technologies or shared fictions that have developed and how they've changed our societies and ways of interacting and how they've changed us at an individual level. So, for example, it explores some of the transitions between religion to some consumerism type behaviors. It also covers some things like the transition from communities into states. Harari also takes a couple stabs at happiness along the way, and it falls somewhere in between Buddhism and evolution. The argument pretty much boils down to our happiness is determined by our expectations relative to others. So that's, kind of the Buddhist piece is these expectations that we have and how we interact with the world based on those expectations produces happiness. And then the evolutionary piece is kind of our happiness is determined to some degree how we are relative to others or how we're profiting or benefiting, because our relative position determines our ability to reproduce and whatnot. There's also some discussion of how we quickly adapt and look for new things as we adapt, which explains why we may not necessarily be happier than we were in the past, even though our well-being in general is higher. We have adjusted to these developments and are constantly seeking new things. Overall, I think Sapiens is a really good read and it's very interesting. You get a number of different topics from a number of different viewpoints, and it can really help you just explore some new things or points of view or parts of the human experience that you're not normally exposed to or thinking about. While there's some room for debate on some of the context or some of the commentary that Harari makes, for the most part, it's really, really interesting, at the very least, even if it's not 100% for sure certain. Resources like this, I think, are really good for helping you just kind of expand your way of thinking and processing more points of view. Now, onto the happiness note, again, there are some discussions of happiness. It's pretty high level, surface, and it doesn't really go into a lot of depth and research and whatnot, which is to be expected. That's not the focus of this book. So anything that you get out of it is just kind of a couple cursory high-level thoughts. They may or may not be helpful. This isn't really a resource for directly impacting happiness or taking away different ways to live, but it does have a couple perspectives and a little bit of information that can be interesting to look at. The main piece here is that this is really good for just kind of helping you consider more perspectives as opposed to, a manual for do X, Y, and Z. Other considerations, the main one here is basically not to take everything in the book at face value. Harari is really good at writing. His stories kind of flow along, his descriptions flow along, but there is some debate about how accurate or plausible or certain some of the concepts he discusses are. So as long as you come in with a little bit of a grain of salt, or at least process the information with the idea that some pieces are strong historically and some pieces are stronger on the commentary side, then I think you'll be all right and get quite a bit out of this. Now, on to the applicable content section. 1. How often do you engage with viewpoints outside your normal expertise? 2. How have shared fictions influenced your life? For example, money or religion. 3. What are a few luxuries you have adjusted to? How does your expectation of having them influence your happiness? So that's all I've got for this video. Hopefully that gives you some idea of what is in the book Sapiens and how it relates to happiness. Again, it's mostly to get your mind turning and expand your perspective. That's all I've got for this video. So as always, if you have any questions, comments, topics you want me to cover, throw them down in the box below and I'll get to them as soon as I can. And I will see you next time.
You can check out more content at howtohappy.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you can stay up to date on the videos. We've also got a Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook that you can check out. Reflect, take action, and enjoy life. See you next time.